Alright guys, today we got a running theme going on my channel. I'm doing a bunch of Patreon requests, and this one is from Brandon Sorto. He wants me to watch how Joseph Bartomeu ruined FC Barcelona. I'm sorry if I just ruined the pronunciation of his name. Okay, this one should be interesting because I have obviously been getting into football a little bit more on my channel. I've learned about Messi. Of course, he used to play for Barcelona. He moved over to Paris Saint-Germain, and I had a lot of you guys tell me that a lot of that had to do with the fact that Barcelona could not renew his contract because there are a lot of mismanagement things that happened that led to them not being able to do that. I'm assuming that this story in this video today is going to be kind of talking a little bit about that. If that's the case, I'm looking forward to kind of learning the story behind all of this. It'll give me a little bit better understanding of like the whole Messi situation. Also just kind of like help me learn a little bit more about the history of the Barcelona club. But before we get into the video, just a quick reminder to like and subscribe if you have not done that yet, and you'll find the links to all of my social media, Discord, and Patreon in the description and the pinned comment below. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and let's get into the video.
If 2020 had a face, it might look a little bit like this. When Josep Bartomeu became Barcelona president in January 2014, he inherited arguably both the biggest and the best club in world football. This was Barca's most frequent starting 11 in Bartomeu's first full season, the 2014-15 campaign.
Okay, so this is just interesting right here. So I can kind of see the positions on the field and kind of generally where they play, it looks like. So we have Neymar up there. I've done a video on him. I really kind of liked his playing style. We have Messi up at the top. I don't... Piqué. He was in one of my other videos too, and I forgot how to say his name. He's the only other name on this that I recognize. So, yeah, those are the only three that I'm familiar with. And I'm not even really all that familiar with Piqué, but... Peak. Dang it, you guys told me how to say his name in the last video and I forgot about it.
Featuring the likes of Piqué, Alves, Busquets, Xavi, Neymar and Messi. Meanwhile, players such as Andres Iniesta and Luis Suarez registered in excess of 40 appearances as well. In the forms of Messi, Suarez and Neymar in attack, who scored a combined total of 122 goals that season, and Busquets, Xavi and Iniesta in midfield, Barcelona had one of the best attacking and midfield trios to have ever graced the sport, all in the same side. It should come as little surprise then that Luis Enrique's side beat Real Madrid to the La Liga title, defeated Athletic Club in vintage fashion to win the Copa del Rey, and fairly comfortably disposed of Juventus in the Champions League final, as Barcelona became the first European team to win 2 continental trebles, having done so first under Pep Guardiola in the 2008-09 season. This was the Barcelona team that Josep Bartomeu inherited in 2014. In the space of just 6 years, Barcelona's demise, given the calibre of the players at the club in 2014, is quite remarkable. Barcelona haven't won the Champions League since 2015, they have failed to replace key players or maximise the talent coming through La Masia, and only the sheer genius of Lionel Messi has managed to repeatedly keep the club in the hunt for the La Liga title. In the 5 seasons since their last European crown, Barcelona have lost 2-0 to Atletico Madrid, 3-0 to Juventus, 3-0 to Roma, 4-0 to Liverpool, and most recently, of course, 8-2 to Bayern Munich. It is a worrying trend of increasingly dreadful performances and results in Europe's premier knockout competition, and it is reflective of the wider demise of FC Barcelona, one which has been slow to emerge when looking in from the sidelines, but has been taking hold for many years now on the inside. To understand the situation at Barcelona and the circumstances surrounding the club's beleaguered president Josep Bartomeu, you have to have an understanding of the political machinations of FC Barcelona. Here in the United Kingdom, where most of our viewers are from, and indeed across much of the world, football clubs are run by owners or chairmen. Either an owner buys a club and calls the shots themselves, or they buy a club and appoint a chairman or chief executive to run the club for them. West Ham, for example, is both co-owned and run by David Gold and David Sullivan. Meanwhile, Manchester United are owned by the Glazer family, but the day-to-day management of the club is managed by the club's vice-chairman, Ed Woodward. Now, both of these regimes, at West Ham and Manchester United, have been met with opposition from supporters at times, but there is very little that supporters can actually do to combat the way in which their club is run, and indeed, who runs the club. They can vote with their feet, of course, by cancelling their memberships or season tickets, but with the global appeal of the Premier League, you're only likely to be replaced by a tourist who spends more in their one-off visit to the ground and is financially, therefore, more preferable to the people you're trying to hurt. This isn't the case at FC Barcelona. Barcelona are owned by the supporters in the form of socios or members who pay into the club for the privilege of getting preferential ticket access, the ability to buy a season ticket, and a vote on various issues surrounding the club. The most important vote of all is the presidential election, held every 6 years, which would be akin to supporters of Premier League teams having the chance to vote on their club chairman every 6 years, except at Barca, since the fans own the club, there is no one above the president.
Interesting. I didn't know that sports teams had this sort of system, and I don't know if Barcelona's the only team in the world that does this. I would imagine that maybe not. Maybe there are other teams that do this sort of system with ownership, and this is really, really interesting to me. It seems to me that, like, there's an NFL team, maybe Green Bay? I'm not sure. I feel like there's an NFL team that is kind of like owned by the fans as well. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it works. I don't know if they vote like this on stuff. So,
All this democracy, somewhat inevitably, leads to a great deal of politicking. Bobby Robson summed up his time at the Camp Nou by stating, "It was a highly political environment and I wasn't a political animal." It is always a highly political environment at Barcelona, as presidents battle not only to bring the best players to the club and ensure the brightest possible short and long-term future, but also for popularity and to secure re-election. The electoral cycle makes Barcelona a bit like a nation-state, and just as a president or prime minister has an opposition, so too does the incumbent Barcelona president, sometimes more than one, who are never afraid to critique or look to turn the knife when the opportunity presents itself. Just as it is Keir Starmer's job to scrutinise and offer an alternative policy to Boris Johnson's government as leader of the opposition in the United Kingdom, those who are seeking election in the upcoming Barcelona presidential elections do the same to the incumbent president. No one better surmises the internal conflict and politics of FC Barcelona than Sandro Rosell. In 2003, Rosell joined forces with Joan Laporta as the latter's vice president, and together the duo won a large majority which saw Laporta elected. One of Rosell's election pledges had been to bring David Beckham to the Camp Nou, who ended up signing for fierce rivals Real Madrid, and in 2005, Rosell resigned as vice president along with 5 other board members and became a vocal critic of Joan Laporta's presidency. Rosell wrote a book attacking Laporta's leadership of Barca in 2006 entitled Welcome to the Real World, but his timing wasn't great, as within weeks, Barca won the Champions League for the first time since Johan Cruyff's dream team did so in 1992. Laporta's presidency lent heavily on the teachings and footballing philosophies of Cruyff, and this would pay dividends for Barcelona. Laporta's major signings like Ronaldinho, Deco and Samuel Eto'o proved to be big hits in Barcelona. His 2 risky managerial appointments, Frank Rijkaard and Pep Guardiola, proved to be masterstrokes, and La Masia produced a virtually unprecedented crop of young talent such as Xavi, Iniesta and Messi, all of whom made seamless transitions into the first team during this time. Laporta's major signings like Ronaldinho, Deco and Samuel Eto'o proved to be big hits in Barcelona. His 2 risky managerial appointments, Frank Rijkaard and Pep Guardiola, proved to be masterstrokes, and La Masia produced a virtually unprecedented crop of young talent such as Xavi, Iniesta and Messi, all of whom made seamless transitions into the first team during this time. The end result was the most successful Barca presidency of all time, and in my opinion at least, the assembling of the best football team of all time. And Barcelona's ability to cling on to success and greatness over the last 10 years has been relying on the legacy of Laporta's regime, and the players that were promoted from La Masia during his time at the club. Despite the many successes, Laporta wasn't without his controversies. Although Laporta is a self-confessed Catalan nationalist who has supported Catalan independence from Spain, it emerged in October 2005 that Laporta's brother-in-law and fellow board member, Alejandro Echeverria, was a member of the Francisco Franco National Foundation, a fairly extreme group which seeks revisionism and a more positive depiction of Spain's former fascist dictator. Having initially denied the allegations, Laporta...
Wait, so, like, Spanish politics is now playing a hand in a sports team? That's interesting.
Accepted them, but whilst his brother-in-law resigned from the Barcelona board, he remained involved in certain aspects of the running of the club. Laporta also faced allegations of harbouring authoritarian ideas, accusations of financial mismanagement, primarily by Sandro Rosell, and he was held responsible for the struggles of Barcelona's basketball team, all of which led to an unsuccessful vote of no confidence in 2008, and ultimately to him losing the presidential election to Rosell in 2010. Somewhat ironically, Josep Bartomeu was head of the basketball section of Barcelona during Juan Laporta's presidency, and in 2010 he became vice president, having run alongside Sandro Rosell. In 2017, Rosell was...
What's this basketball section that they're talking about? I'm assuming Barcelona has a basketball team that plays maybe in like a European league or something. How is that connected to the football team though? Is it all like under the same umbrella? But that seems strange to me, because we have a lot of cities here that will have multiple basketball teams or football teams, under the same city, but they have different owner. Like they're not like associated with each other. I don't know how that works over in Europe. I also might just be misinterpreting this too. I'm not sure.
He became vice president, having run alongside Sandro Rosell. In 2017, Rosell was jailed without bail, primarily due to money laundering investigation, which related to the signing of Brazilian superstar Neymar. He had resigned as president in January 2014, when the investigations began, and he was replaced by his vice president, Josep Bartomeu, who was re-elected as Barcelona president in July 2015 with 54% of the votes. His re-election was controversial and drew criticism from many Barcelona fans, with former president Juan Laporta having been the favourite and also apparently the preferred candidate of Barcelona captain and icon Lionel Messi. Bartomeu carried much of the baggage of the disgraced Rosell regime, whether it be a FIFA transfer ban, a tax avoidance scandal, or the decision to end Barcelona's charitable shirt sponsorship deal with UNICEF in favour of a lucrative deal with Qatar Airways, which led some to believe that Bartomeu was undermining the principles of the club and was therefore unfit to hold office. Critics of Bartomeu in 2015 have largely been proven right. For half a decade, Barcelona have been woefully mismanaged, seemingly losing sight of what has made the club great ever since the days of Johan Cruyff, and lacking a genuine long-term outlook. Short-term signings combined with an apathy towards the running of La Masia has seen Barcelona go from a club that produced a generation of homegrown world-class talent to one that has hardly promoted a single graduate from one of the world's most esteemed footballing institutions, practically since Johan Laporta's presidency ended in 2010. A quick look at Barcelona's transfer dealings during this period rapidly exposes Bartomeu's short-sightedness in the market, and just how much money Barcelona have wasted in recent years. Aleix Vidal was signed from Sevilla for a potential €22 million before returning to Seville for just €8.5 million. Arda Turan was signed for a potential €41 million despite the fact he couldn't actually play for 6 months due to a transfer ban, and his disastrous 5-year deal only just came to an end as he signed for Galatasaray on a free. Andre Gomes arrived for a potential €55 million and was sold to Everton for £22 million within just 24 months. The club paid an initial €225 million and potentially as much as €305 million for Ousmane Dembele and Philippe Coutinho, and whilst it is of course unfortunate that Dembele has had such a hard time with injuries, Coutinho never looked like a smart piece of business at that price, and he has since been sent out on loan to Bayern Munich, where he scored twice and made an assist in a cameo appearance for Bayern as they beat Barcelona 8-2 in the Champions League.
So it sounds like they're just making a bunch of really bad contracts, bad deals. Here, they're not getting their money's worth out of these players. Maybe they're overpaying them a little bit too.
Paid €120 million to activate Antoine Griezmann's release clause, only for the 29-year-old Frenchman to score 9 league goals in his debut campaign. And most recently, the club paid €60 million to acquire 30-year-old Bosnian midfielder Miralem Pjanic off the back of a poor season at Juventus. Those are just some of the remarkably bad pieces of business that Barcelona have done on Josep Bartomeu's watch, and just as significant have been their departures. Club legend Xavi left in 2015, Dani Alves followed in 2016, and both Javier Mascherano and Andres Iniesta said their farewells and goodbyes in 2018. Of course, these great pantheons of Barcelona's past had to depart or retire at some stage, but there ought to have been contingency plans in place. The Barcelona generation that Laporta oversaw had the likes of Puyol and Rafael Marquez nurturing Gerard Piqué, Deco teaching the tricks of the trade to Xavi and Iniesta, and Messi learning from Ronaldinho. Although Barca had established stars, there was a clear pathway from La Masia to the first team for the most talented players in Barca's youth ranks. Who is going to replace Gerard Piqué now? Where are the replacements for Xavi, Iniesta, Rakitic and Busquets? Of course, you can't expect like-for-like replacements when dealing with players of the calibre of Xavi, Iniesta and, God forbid, Lionel Messi.
Is Piqué one of these guys right here? If so, which one? I don't know. He just mentioned him while he was showing this picture, so I'm assuming maybe he's in this one.
Like replacements when dealing with players of the calibre of Xavi, Iniesta and, God forbid, Lionel Messi, but right now Barcelona don't even have anyone who can come in and challenge Arturo Vidal for his shirt, and that should be a source of shame for Josep Bartomeu and his regime. Perhaps the most significant departure of all, though, was the sale of Neymar in 2017. Neymar was signed by PSG for €222 million, an unprecedented amount of money in football, which arguably broke the transfer market and led to ludicrous signings such as Barcelona paying as much as €142 million, subject to add-ons, for Philippe Coutinho. The sale of Neymar was significant for a number of reasons, not least because Barcelona was selling one of their best players. That was something which just didn't happen and would never have been allowed to happen under other regimes. Of course, €222 million, if reinvested wisely, is a fortune, but it wasn't reinvested wisely, and it brought to an end an attacking triad which struck fear into the heart of every defence in Europe. Barcelona ended up paying more for Ousmane Dembele and Philippe Coutinho than they received for Neymar, and history will show that to be a truly wretched piece of business on the club's part. Of course, the great Barcelona teams of old made mistakes in the transfer market. The likes of Zambrotta, Milito and Shaginski spring to mind, but they were always masked by the strength of Barca's academy graduates. Examining all of the things that have gone wrong with La Masia is a topic which would require an entire video unto itself, but the demise of what was the best academy in world football under Josep Bartomeu and Sandro Rosell is extraordinary. Whilst Barcelona are still heavily reliant on the academy graduates of Joan Laporta's presidential reign, there is only one current Barca first-team squad member to have made their debut following Rosell's election success in 2010.
These football academies, of course, you guys have alluded to them down in the comments on these videos and stuff, and I'm still trying to get my head around them and how they work. Seems like every team has basically an academy where they train up-and-coming players. They may come from around the world, like Messi came from Argentina, and, I guess trained at this academy and then eventually moved up to Barcelona to play in the league. Like, I guess they scout around the world for like the best players that they can find. They have to convince them to come to the academy. These are still probably like school age kids as well, so I'm assuming that they may provide schooling for the kids also. So yeah, it's a completely different system over in Europe, and so that's kind of just what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
That player is Sergio Roberto, who was already on the verge of a first-team debut under Laporta, although I should mention Ansu Fati, who did make 33 appearances last season, despite the fact that he is still technically part of Barca's B team and youth team ranks. Fati does appear to be an exciting prospect with bags of potential, but he is the exception, which proves the rule. He is still only 17, and only one or two first-team La Masia graduates in a decade by Barcelona standards is an aberration.
So how do they assess the talent level of these players? Because there's only so much you can do like in training and practice and stuff. Do they play other academies so that you can see them against competition? Like how does that work?
In an attempt to breathe new life into Barca's ailing academy, Josep Bartomeu launched La Masia 360 in 2016, a program that was intended to halt the stagnation of La Masia's talents, but one that has done the exact opposite. Changes to the players' accommodation, diet and footballing philosophy have been roundly condemned by supporters, with some labelling La Masia 360 as the death of La Masia. At the root of it, from La Masia to the first team, there is a feeling that Barca have forgotten their principles under Josep Bartomeu. When Barcelona lost 8-2 to Bayern Munich...
Also, what is this emblem? Obviously, at the bottom, we have it looks like a volleyball, actually. It looks like a volleyball, not a soccer ball, but, or football, as you guys say. We have the stripes of the Barcelona club there. It looks like these are flags at the top. It looks like the Red Cross flag, and I don't know what the yellow and red stripes are. Or yellow background with red stripes on it. Are these like, flags of Spain or something? Previous flags of Spain? What does the flag of Spain look like? Okay, well, Spain's flag is red and yellow, so maybe that's what the right hand side looks like or stands for. I don't know about the left hand. Maybe that's like a past. And all of my history videos with like the wars and stuff, you know, I've seen a lot of different flags for various countries. Seems like there might have been one like that represented Spain at some point, but I'm not sure. And they may have nothing to do with the flags of Spain. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Forgotten their principles under Josep Bartomeu. When Barcelona lost 8-2 to Bayern Munich, we saw a team playing basically a 4-4-2 formation with Sergio Roberto and Frenkie de Jong pushing out to the flanks and Sergio Busquets and Arturo Vidal in the middle of the park. That is virtually unrecognisable to how Barcelona shaped up when Bartomeu took charge in 2014. From top to bottom, the club has lost its way, forgotten its mantra, and what has long made Barcelona special. Barca do not always need to win every game or every trophy, and we had to expect some kind of come down from the team of 2008 to 2012 once the likes of Xavi, Iniesta and Puyol said their goodbyes. But the club hasn't built for the future. There needs to be a plan, a project, and some kind of vision in place. Under Bartomeu, Barca have made short-term Mourinho-esque signings and decisions without actually seeing any short-term results. Johan Cruyff famously said, "Quality without results is pointless, and results without quality is boring." Barcelona appear to have sacrificed their quality, but they haven't got results in return. By Cruyff's own reckoning, Barcelona have become both pointless and boring, and that is the legacy of Josep Bartomeu. As I was writing this script, news broke that Josep Bartomeu was considering resigning as Barcelona president, as fans gathered outside the Camp Nou to voice their displeasure at him and their support for Lionel Messi as the Barcelona captain seeks a move elsewhere. He should have resigned in 2017 at the latest, but if he had any honour left, he would step down now, and it is possible, of course, that he will have done by the time this video comes out. Thankfully for Barca fans, Barcelona is a club that will always have the potential to bounce back. Regardless of mismanagement, the club carries an esteem matched by few others in the world of football, and their global appeal means their commercial revenue is likely to sustain the club even in the event of a brief fall from grace and a failure to compete for the major trophies. Similarly, La Masia will always have a certain privilege given its alumni if nothing else, and with the right people in place, Barcelona can become a factory for world-class footballers once again. There are many controversies surrounding Josep Bartomeu that I haven't mentioned in this video, such as the Barcagate social media scandal, in which he is alleged to have hired a PR firm to clean up his image online and to disparage former and current staff or players who were critical of him on social media. An audit later found no evidence that the PR firm that was hired by Barcelona, known as 13 Ventures, had been brought in for that purpose, but 6 board members resigned in light of the scandal. This video would be very long if I mentioned every critique of Josep Bartomeu's presidency, but I think the crux of the problem is that Barcelona have forgotten what makes them special. The next presidential election at the Camp Nou isn't scheduled to take place until 2021, but if Bartomeu hangs on for that long, the Blaugrana will be in a solid mess. As well as reports that he is to resign, others have suggested that Bartomeu would be willing to see the likes of Rakitic, Suarez and Messi depart due to the opposition that they present to him. If Bartomeu is this crazy, Barcelona are going to be in a crisis of epic proportions. It's difficult to overstate how reliant this Barca team is on Lionel Messi. As I said in a recent video about the appointment of Ronald Koeman, if Bartomeu does resign and Barca shows signs that they are moving in the right direction, I think Lionel Messi will stay at the club. If Bartomeu hangs on, I think things get ugly. Barca will dig in their heels and try to prevent a move, and they will lose a great deal of goodwill and respect from the world of football for their treatment of a man who has given that club so much.
Okay, well, we all know that Messi ended up moving to PSG in France. So it sounds like there was some internal, political opposition Messi had to Bartomeu. I don't know if that had anything to do with his departure. It seemed like, from what you guys explained to me with Messi's departure, it was more of a financial issue with the mismanagement of contracts and that sort of thing, as he laid out here in this video. There are some stipulations with Messi's contract or whatever that even if Barcelona could pay for him, they wouldn't have been able to because of some sort of regulation. I forgot what it was. So it seemed to be more of a financial issue with Messi leaving rather than a political one, like he kind of maybe alluded to here. I don't know if Bartomeu is still in charge of Spain but or not Spain, Barcelona. Okay, looks like maybe not then. So maybe he got voted out. It's it looks like Joan Laporta. That I'm sure it's more like Yuan or something like that. So, okay, so they have a new president now. Okay, so what do you guys think about that? How do you guys perceive the new president? Do you feel like he might turn things around for Barcelona? This was a really interesting video. It kind of, you know, gave me a history of Barcelona and how they, you know, became such a power in European football, and then did a good job explaining kind of the decline and where they are now in terms of you know, getting the players they need. It looks like their academy's not doing great or wasn't doing great, so it looks like they've got some work to do to kind of get back to where they used to be. I feel like this is just the story of sports though. There are always teams that go on these runs and they're like the best team, you know, for years and years, and then, you know, changes happen and they fall from that top level. Somebody replaces them. You know, that happens, I feel like, in all sports and all leagues around the world. You know, there's also this expectation, like once you're up there at that top spot and you have that brand, you know, that everybody associates with winning, which it seems like where Barcelona was, the fans have very little tolerance for falling from that. You know, they want to be up at that level all the time. That's the way that they perceive their club or their team. And if you don't meet those expectations, then they get restless and they want to make those changes to get back to that level. And that's true even with, you know, teams over here in the US. That happens all the time. I can totally understand that. So thank you, Brandon, for recommending this video to me. It's really, really cool to kind of get more, you know, info on the history of football and just learn more about Barcelona as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And again, links to social media, Discord, Patreon are in the description and the pinned comments. We'll have more sports related stuff, football related stuff coming up on my channel. So stay tuned for all of that stuff. Roger here and I thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.